you all for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Stoneman, and look forward to your presentation, and move on to approval of the agenda.
And make that motion.
Yeah, is that Bruce?
Ken.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks, Ken. Motion by Ken.
Second.
Second from Jody. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please, Kelly.
Kyle Mosher,
Yes.
Thad Taylor,
Yes.
Ken Urban,
Yes.
Annie Jacobson,
Yes.
Jody Walter,
Yes.
Bruce Allen,
Yes.
James Boudry,
Yes.
Tamara DePonio.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, Karen, I didn't see Karen come on.
Oh, there's
I'll probably have to abstain because I don't know what the motion was.
Okay.
approval of the agenda.
Oh, well, that's easy. Yes.
All right.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay, moving on to public comment. I don't see any public. Manistee Area Public Schools presentation, Superintendent Ron Stoneman, thanks for joining us. We've got a busy morning, so appreciate your time. If we can try to keep it to 5 or 10 minutes, that'd be great. And you got the floor. And you're muted, Ron.
Should be on top of that. Thank you for your time, and I'll do my best to respect that. I know that you've received that presentation, so if you can view that, we'll just go through that, hit the highlights of that. And if there's something unanswered or a discussion that you would like, just contact me, and I can have that conversation anytime. We're looking at restarting the bond. As you know, the school board suspended the bond process last year. They were going to go for an election. We were in May, but we've restarted it for this year. And so May 4th is an election date for this proposal. And what you have, skip a few pages, just want to make sure that there's an understanding that our elementary students are in the greatest need for facilities improvement. So this project is really focused on our elementary needs. The middle school, high school has 6th through 12th grade, if you did not know that. So it's middle school through high school. And right now Jefferson has K2. And the Kennedy Elementary, which is the old 67 high school, has grades 3-5. And our scope of work that we're asking for would be, I'm on the diagram page of what buildings. The middle school, high school, if you've been in the building, you know we've already reconfigured that entryway for safety. I know that's on the list, but that's something we've already accomplished and been able to check off. But the building is 20 years old, and it's hosting a variety of grade levels. So we're in need of a construction of a middle school gym and locker rooms that would be located directly behind the high school gym. And there's a big grade of drop off back there, which would allow us to have locker room facilities and some storage area on the ground level. And it's a little bit smaller of a gym, but it'll definitely meet our needs for our middle school and for gym classes and activities, and also extracurricular activities after school. The building being 20 years old, we're looking at a new piece of roof. That would be the light yellow area. That's a new section of roof that we're proposing. It's over the academic wing. And there are some improvements that have been made at the parking lot. That is the light blue area. We've sealed that area, the asphalt, and we've added new signage to that area. And we've done a pretty good job separating the bus and student traffic from the main parking lot, and controlling the parent drop off and pickup area a little bit better for safety. So some of the things have been accomplished, but again, the building's 20 years old. looking at replacing a number of doors and most hardware for doors in the building, getting those updated. And again, under the ground level of the gymnasium would be some storage area, mainly for those pits, our high jump and pole vault pits, which are expensive, and that would be good to keep them warm all winter for longevity of that equipment. So that's the basic scope of the middle school, high school. Looking at Jefferson, we're talking about demolishing that building and having that space available. Our first approach on that was some green space, but it allowed us to get some feedback. We have formed a Jefferson Neighborhood Committee, and they've been looking at what possible uses for that property. And we have a city council member, Mick, on that committee. And the green space sensitivity of Sands Park, just a few blocks away, and the lack of housing or housing needs in Manistee, especially in the city. The conversation has migrated to the possibility of splitting that property up for buildable lots. I can tell you the neighborhood committee is very sensitive to keeping up the integrity of that neighborhood. So, when we're talking about affordable housing or HUD project and so forth, they're very sensitive to that conversation. And I don't blame them. And but if we're looking at like housing to upkeep the integrity of the neighborhood, I think they're open to that idea and of course, this committee would make a recommendation to the board. We've hired Spicer. They've completed a survey of the property. I know there's some utilities that are under that lot. And so they're going to let us know what is there and maybe some ideas about splitting that up for development. There are some deed restrictions that we could potentially put on those lots to give confidence to that neighborhood that what the intent of for building. I know that there are a variety of needs of housing in the city and in the area. And there is a realtor that lives in the neighborhood who is on this committee and does, his feedback right now is that all kinds of housing is needed in the community. So we could have 4 or 5 lots and it could get back on the tax rolls, which would be very important to all of us. And it could house some future students for us also, which is also very important. Any questions about that Jefferson building? It's a 1954 elementary and it's clean, but it is extremely tired. All right. Kennedy Elementary, it's a 1967 high school. And what we're looking to do, obviously take down the 1927 building. It is definitely a main focus of this project altogether is to get that blighted building down. Of course, we'll work on secure entryways and academic wings for safety and security. We'll update the modern educational standards in that building. And what is needed desperately is dedicated bus loop and parking areas and a safe parent drop off and pick up. If you've been in the area for the end of the day or the beginning of the day, it's not real conducive for safety. And we monitor it with a lot of adults out there, but it is a problem that we can solve with this project. That 67 building, the community dedicated and spent a lot of money at that time for that building, and it is usable for far into the future for us, but it needs a complete renovation. It is not retrofitted currently for elementary, and it's again a tired facility, but it's usable. So there's a lot of life that can be put back into this building. We're looking at moving pre-K through 5th grade into that building. Any questions on that building? All right, moving on, Madison. Madison on the south end of town. We have a lot of partners in this building, and it's nice to be able to have a home for multiple agencies to use that building. We Cyber School Academy that we authorize. It's over a 3,000 student cyber school. And their offices are in that building. They take up one side of that building. Our GSRP program, preschool, federally funded, is in the building, and also our tuition-based program for preschool is in the building. We have Central Wellness using some space, and also the ISD. And as you can see on that diagram, the green area, we would move central offices out of Kennedy Building and into that building. But it needs a new roof, and all of the mechanical systems need to be updated in that building. But it's a viable building, and I know I met with Filer Township, and they're excited to know that that wouldn't be an abandoned building or taken down, that it's viable. Any question on the scope of the work? It's the same as last year, and just want to be consistent, and that this project does meet the needs that we have for our youngest learners and for those teachers.
Ron?
Yeah.
This is Karen. At Madison, I know that, I don't know if it was you or who I was walking around with, but you have what, about 5 or 6 lots out there? I know there's a softball field back, or a baseball field back there, a playground, and
Yeah, we do, and that could be a sellable property, but it also in the back of our mind is relocating our transportation department on that property. And, it is a viable for any sort of project. It's for sale. Are you interested?
well, there's some ideas on projects, but I'll get back with you.
Yeah, but in the back of my mind, 5-10 years, looking at transportation and seeing if that's a viable site for us.
Yeah, that's probably great.
Yep. Going on one page identifying the cost if we do nothing, kind of thing. We have great expenses in these old buildings, and if we're left to tend to these buildings, it's going to be extremely expensive and outprice our ability to keep up with them, and that is our concern. The next page is a diagram. It also states that we're just under 31 million ask on this. It's a 2.65 mil increase. That would be a total of 4.7 mils that would be collected from the community. Also on that is a table showing your home's fair market value. You can kind of put your home in that scale and kind of figure out in the proximity of what you're looking at yearly or monthly. On our website is a calculator, so where you can put in your assessed value and it'll tell you what it will cost you on our website. The blue line, the years below that are hard to see, but in 1999, where the blue lines start, the community approved 4 mills for the building for the high school, middle school. And as the years have progressed, the district has refinanced this debt 3 times. The last time was this past year, and we're able to save $800,000 on the 9-year term that is left on to pay it off. And as you can see, as the debt is less, we collect less mills to pay the debt, and property value increases have influenced less mills to be collected too. The green and blue line, that would be if this is approved, we're up to 4.7. And as bonds predict in the future how they perform, you can see less debts being collected as the debt is decreased. Any question on the cost or scope of that? All right, I will go a couple of pages. It's how do we compare? It's one of my favorite pages. It really represents it. There's 2 graphs on that page, tables. And we have Bear Lake, Candy, and Manistee and Onekama. The scale shows what mills are collected in those communities. And it shows that we have about 1,344 students. And we almost have 3 times the amount of students. And we are collecting 2.05 mils on our debt. And it just shows that other communities have continued to invest and collect more mill than us for far less students. So the collection and payment of the community towards per student, we're way behind. And I think our elementary facilities resemble that, especially if you've been to those communities. and see what facilities they have especially for their elementary. We're behind, and this data shows that. The table below that, we're in a competitive environment for school of choice. And so we have Benzie, Ludington, Mason County Central, Cadillac on there. Those are I would say, our competitive neighbors for lots of reasons, for recruitment of families and industry business, and just kind of shows where we are compared to what other communities that may we identify as friendly competitors, where we sit with that. Spring Lake has been added to this. We would always compare things to Spring Lake. They're kind of an exemplary, and they would be identified as a successful community. They have great things happening in their community with facilities and services. Fremont is another school that we compare ourselves to, and that identified what their mills collected to. So even at 4.7 mills, we're in a very reasonable position. All right. The next page is just related to school of choice. I touched on that. 1993, I think Proposal A passed, and then School of Choice passed. So Proposal A changed how we're funded, and School of Choice created the idea that we have to have a marketability approach to education, because we are paid on a per student basis, that we have to compete for students. It has helped us get better and be aware of our educational product, but it also has created different circumstances. What's Plan B on the next page? Well, it's not good. Delaying this kind of work, it only gets more expensive. Then we're talking about reconfiguration on our own, and we're taking money out of operations and our product to help students and support teachers, and put it into our facilities. And as we think of small class sizes and resources to help teachers and students, and offerings, I'm just concerned that diverting money away from those things will not help us help our students or help our product per se. And next page. Now, this is very important. So DDA, I mean, I think you guys know better than anyone the value of having these pillars in a community, especially if what our developers are looking at. People come to town, and your goals are have great services. If they're not public safety, services for seniors and resources for them, and hospital, and those are some really big pillars to a community. And education and the environment for education is also one of those pillars. So as we're asking developers to consider our area and our community, so we're looking to have a conducive environment that they're looking for, what families are looking for to stay here and to come and settle here. Public schools is a huge part of that decision-making process, and you guys know that. So that's it in a real quick nutshell. And I really appreciate you letting me join you this morning and share the scope. And it's nothing new, same as last year, but we need it more than ever. Some of the questions that I've received, costs have gone up. Yes, they have. But the amount of the cost of financing has helped offset that to a big degree. So this is a good time. So if labor and material costs continue to rise, and so the interest rate does too, we're in a much more expensive environment. So I hope that this was informative for you. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you very much, Ron. Appreciate you including us in the presentation and the campaign. It's very, very important to the community. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and I just want to thank a couple of you that sat through it a few times.
Fair enough. Any questions for Ron? Awesome. Thanks again, Ron. Appreciate it.
You guys have a good meeting. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. You too. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to approval of minutes from the February 10 regular meeting. I would entertain a motion if there's no questions or comments.
This is Karen. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Karen.
I'll support it.
Thank you, James. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Kelly.
Alrighty. Thad Taylor,
Yes.
James Boudry,
Yes.
Annie Jacobson,
Yes.
Tamara DePonio,
Yes.
Jody Walter,
Yes.
Bruce Allen,
Yes.
Kyle Mosher,
Yes.
Karen Goodman,
Yes.
Ken Urban,
Yes.
passed 9-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 7, approval, or item 6, sorry, approval of minutes from the March 1st special meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, James.
Support.
Thank you, Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please, Kelly.
Ken Urban,
Yes.
Karen Goodman,
Yes.
Kyle Mosher,
Yes.
Bruce Allen,
Yes.
Jody Walter,
Yes.
Tamara DePonio,
Yes.
Annie Jacobson,
Yes.
James Boudry,
Yes.
Thad Taylor,
Yes.
passed 9-0.
Thank you again. Item 7, financials, February 2020. Who's going to take us through that? Or we could entertain a motion to approve them.
Kyle, there will be a couple of corrections just on some financial inconsistencies that we found. So the March ones might look a little bit different from this, but this is what we have received to work off of from today.
Okay. Do you have any comments for the attachments of the invoices as well?
No, those are pretty standard. One is just the third quarter is enhanced service agreement with the city, and the other is just the chamber executive director fee.
Okay.
Just
I
higher
think-
amounts.
Okay, thank you. I
Mhm.
think we could approve the financials and the check requests at the same time if we want to. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoices and the checks at this
Thank
time.
you. Thank you, James.
Support.
All right, who's supporting?
Tamara. Support.
Thank you, Tamara. Any further discussion, questions? Okay. Hearing none, roll call, please, Kelly.
Can I make one quick comment, Kyle? It should say February 2021.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Thank you.
Okay. Kyle Mosher,
Yes.
Ken Urban,
Yes.
Karen Goodman,
Yes.
Annie Jacobson,
Yes.
Tamara DePonio,
Yes.
Bruce Allen,
Yes.
Thad Taylor,
Yes.
James Boudry,
Yes.
Jody Walter,
Yes.
passed 9-0.
Wonderful. Fun stuff. Moving on to committee reports. Design committee, Ken.
Thank you. Design committee met on Monday. We touched on a whole bunch of things. If you want updates on any of these in specific, please call out. We talked about downtown refuse and recycling, worked through a little bit on the Riverwalk capital plan, talked about paver and sidewalk repairs, crosswalk signage, landscaping and maintenance, talked about Riverwalk planners, also talked about lighting in the DDA along the Riverwalk and also downtown. We spent the most time on the Riverwalk Plaza and decided that we'd like to ask the DDA to move forward on the approving a go-ahead on the Riverwalk Plaza. If you start on page 30 of your packet, you will see a drawing of the plaza itself, as well as the view of what the plaza would look like. if you'll refer to that in page 30, you'll see a top view of the site. The building, for those of you trying to get oriented who aren't good with maps, the building is on the right-hand side, lower right side of that drawing. The plaza is in the far left-hand side along Oak Street. It's an octagonal plaza that has a sidewalk that moves down to it, an ADA accessible sidewalk. That plaza itself is between 30 and 40 feet in diameter, has a central plinth for the Lasky sculpture. And then coming off of there is an ADA accessible ramp down to the Riverwalk. There's fairly not as steep a grade or as long as a drop there as there is at the other end of the property. But that ramp meets ADA requirements and goes down to the Riverwalk. The total cost for this project was estimated around $250,000. It includes decking and railing that aligns with the decking and railing that's elsewhere in the building and the renovation itself. So the decking would be, as proposed, is a composite material. The railing is the stainless steel and wire railing that's common to the rest of the building. And if you go to page 31, you can see a view of the sculpture and the size of the plaza. The people in the drawing kind of give you an idea of the size. It is quite large. Kendra Thompson told us it was between 30 and 40 feet in diameter. So that would be from the center of the Lasky sculpture to the points of the octagon is what they mean when they say a diameter of an octagon. Is from the center to the points. So about 30 feet in diameter, 30 to 40. Other things that we talked about really were streetscape and facade. We also talked about outdoor dining platforms and ways to roll that plan and standard out. We have not developed a standard yet, but I did get a standard from Ludington for their sidewalk dining that I'm going to share with the rest of the committee so they can get a feel for the kinds of things that Ludington standardizes on. Ludington no longer uses seating in the parking spaces because they did not have a lot of buy-in on that. That's it. And I'll leave it to Kyle to lay out a motion for the Riverwalk Plaza moving forward.
Thanks, Ken. So we did receive a presentation from Kendra who explained in detail the proposal for this. There are there's certainly variables, but in order to move forward, they need a survey and then there's certainly details that can be worked out. I think the points are that most of this project is located on city property, the proposed project. One thing to note that the sculpture needs to be located on college property. And so that portion along with the sidewalk that they're proposing, the ADA sidewalk is college property, but most of it, I would say a good 95% is on city property, and more will be known when the survey is done. So the DDA is recommending that, the design committee is recommending that we move forward with this project. And this would be the second portion of our $750,000 commitment to the college. The first was the $500,000 that we allocated for the improved facade.
I'll add one more thing that I forgot to mention and Kyle did not mention either. Part of that, a good part of the $250,000 includes the landscaping that runs in the area around and along the Riverwalk along the side of the parking lot. And it includes enclosures for the electrical transformers that are there. They're kind of ugly and beat up. So there would be enclosure around that to make it look better. So it includes not just the plaza, not just the sidewalks and ramp, but also all the landscaping.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah, landscaping, including retaining walls and that sort of thing. So any questions about this or opinions, comments?
I don't-
This is Thad. I'd like to make a comment.
Please.
I would just suggest that we minimize the vegetation in that area, because that has been a cause for concern about how the DDA and city maintains the greenery along the Riverwalk. So if we can just minimize that, that would be my suggestion.
Thank you. That's certainly something that came up, and those are certainly things that are up for discussion between the college and the city in terms of maintenance as well. But it's known that the amount of vegetation is certainly a concern.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ken.
And I would also say to Thad's concerns that the landscape architect is specifying plants that are low maintenance, quite low maintenance, and also native species. So the intent has been thought given to the maintenance of that landscaping, but low maintenance was one of the prime concerns on it. So
Thanks, Ken. Go ahead, Annie.
To the question of maintenance that came up during the design committee meeting about whether, would it be the city or West Shore that would be responsible. And so I got in touch with Crystal Young and Mike Moore, and Mike said that he saw the responsibility for maintenance being West Shore's, and would, once we move forward, if we move forward with the proposal and, have the survey and have more specific information, that they would, put together a written proposal and get it over to the city of Manistee.
That'd be wonderful. Thanks, Annie. Anybody else?
I have a question for the board. Scott Ward, Thad, and I had a discussion, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Monday, actually. And I know we have $10,000 allocated in this fiscal year budget for the college for the Riverwalk Plaza. So I do believe the survey is going to cost some money, and wanting to know how we start helping the college get moving on that financially. So I didn't know if we could discuss that, or if we want to discuss that further in the agenda with the next fiscal year budget as well.
Thank you, Stacy. Yeah, I think the survey was about $5,000. And then there's certainly design and architectural fees, I think in the $20,000 range. But that would certainly be a way to move this, keep this moving forward. Anyone?
I think that's the same number that I heard was 5,000. They need the survey, not just to figure out the footprint, but they're worried about the slope and what to make certain that what they have planned will work. And that's the intent of the survey as told by me. And when we had that discussion with Scott Ward, it's still up in the air whether we're going to do this on an annual payment or whether we're going to do accelerated payments. But I kind of got the impression that he would like to have the payment spread out no more than 3 to 5 years. So, and if that's the case, then we're just going to have to include that in our discussion about bonding for projects in the district.
Thank you, Thad. Do you think it's appropriate to approve something now to keep this moving forward?
I would suggest that we include in our motion that we would authorize a payment of $5,000 for the survey as requested by West Shore Community College. That'll keep the thing moving, and that will give us as a board some time to figure out how we want to finance this.
It seems, sorry, go ahead.
I was just curious as to is there a process in order here for who is eventually going to be like bidding the landscaping part of the actual like physical landscaping? Is it going to be somebody in our community or?
From my understanding, Tamara, this was done by Crispin, but the last meeting, Kendra said that the intent is to bid the project out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Kyle, before we do, I just want to put out there a thought, and it is that we have budgeted $10,000 towards the Riverwalk Plaza project. It's in the budget. We have we're sitting on fund balances that would allow the 10,000 to be let out. It might be helpful to the college to receive the full 10 in order to not only do the survey, but then maybe do some preliminary work that they might need. You mentioned, it was news to me. I'm not in meetings as closely as others, but there's $20,000 worth of architecture. It might be useful, since we have the funds, to go ahead and make that a $10,000 invoice, or have whatever structure that needs to be. So the college can move forward and consider that a down payment on the $250,000.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And just to add to that, there is a little sense of urgency, just because this was proposed a year ago and it kind of sat. Not sure if it's possible anymore, but they were hoping to have this completed by July sometime for the, I think it was 100-year anniversary or birthday of Les Lasky, who donated the sculpture. It's not, I don't know if that'll happen, but they would like to get rolling on this very, very soon. You guys are quiet this morning.
Kyle, I'll make a motion that we authorize up to $10,000 to West Shore Community College to begin the Riverwalk project.
I'll support that.
Thank you, Thad. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate that. Any discussion? Hearing none, then roll call, please, Kelly.
Okay. James Boudry,
Yes.
Thad Taylor,
Yes.
Annie Jacobson,
I will abstain due to a conflict of interest.
Bruce Allen,
Yes.
Jody Walter,
Yes.
Ken Urban,
Yes.
Kyle Mosier,
Yes.
Tamara DePonio,
Yes.
and Karen left, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to business development, Mr. Miller.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. We had a business development committee meeting on February 17th. We have another one coming up next week on the 17th of March. We have covered a couple items in the previous meeting, and there's been a great deal of work on Entrepreneurial Day, but we covered Entrepreneurial Day. Things have shaped up nicely. You'll find that in your board packet right after the Riverwalk piece. We pulled together 6 speakers, 4 from Michigan SBDC, covering a number of topics, and 2 from outside of the area, so to speak, to talk about design thinking and how to bring your business idea to market. We have an exciting lineup. The marketing materials have been put out, media release has been put out, and we would like to ask everyone to encourage both existing business owners and aspiring business owners to take a look at those 6 sessions and see how to move forward. In other business, we started looking forward to the Spark Light competition. Madeline Fitzsimmons is taking a lead role in deciding how to do that, and that will be held in September. And that is some of the news that we had from the meeting. Now, in the meantime, I said we've been doing a lot of work on this, the whole staff and many committee members. But I would like to end on a really positive note. Forefront, Tamra, thank you. Forefront has is put in funds to be a presenting sponsor of the event, which is really exciting in and of itself to put their name on this as a lending institution to help entrepreneurs in the future. But it also helps us do something very important. By making this kind of a high-level sponsorship type event, we are helping to ensure its viability in the future. I think that the key piece here is that this will make a big difference for our entrepreneurial sector, our business community. And having that kind of sponsorship will help ensure that in future years, this will continue to be a very positive event. I think after doing all this work, we have made a decision that this is something that probably should be an annual event to help build that skill set for entrepreneurs. Would welcome any comments from the business committee. There's three of our board members that are there, but maybe we should all thank Tamra for doing the yeoman's work on getting that sponsorship. She did a great job and was very helpful, instrumental even in getting that sponsorship. So thank you, Tamra.
Yeah, thank you, Tamara. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. It was our pleasure, and it'll give, also Forefront an opportunity to make its sort of debut in the business arena and let people know that we do serve, we serve in that area as well as, for personal memberships. So a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Jody, did you have something?
Did. Thank you so much. And thank you, Tamara, and to Forefront. That's awesome that you guys did that. And when Mark sent that information out, I was reminded that Little River was also a sponsor for the Spark competition from 2 years ago, I guess now. And since I sit on the sponsorship committee here at the resort, it occurred to, and actually we had our meeting yesterday, I wanted to ask you, Mark, how are you doing that process for Spark Light? Because we're in the middle of our budgeting for 2021 reforecast. And if I need to request or slide anything in there, then I'd like to have that information as soon as possible.
Jody, that is a fantastic reminder that we might want to get that work going much faster. We don't have a set plan yet. There's been some discussion about what size of and what kind of support a winner or winners might have. But the last thing I did on sponsorship was to provide an update to our major sponsors, including Little River. I sent an email to Connie and to, I think, Lynn. To give them an update on where we're going with all these 3 events. But that was the last communication that I had. And I think it really should be the next bit of businesses to get on the sponsorship piece. My suggestion was to have a $5,000 prize to help with going into e-commerce or website, which will be the focus of the event. And we're still having deliberations on what that will look like and if that's an appropriate amount or if that is, or if we should contract services. So that's where we're at, but I'm hoping maybe we can get past Entrepreneurial Day and then begin to focus. But
If I may interject, sorry, Mark, I don't want to cut you off. The chamber has, Jody, I'm sure you've seen it, how we structure sponsorship dollars for events and programs.
Yeah.
So I think we're working towards that with the DDA, and with Christina's role kind of as investor relations, we'll probably pull some of that together in the future to hopefully have kind of all the programs through the DDA. And then that'll be easier to go out to the previous year sponsors ahead of time, giving them an opportunity if they want to sponsor in the next event or in the near future for those events.
Fantastic. That's what I was hoping to say. Okay.
Awesome. Thank
just-
you.
Yeah, I just need to make sure that if we want to be a part of that, and we do, you know, we were very proud to be part of that. So we want to make sure that we're out there as well.
Awesome.
Can I ask a quick question about Entrepreneurial Day? I see this as a really wonderful opportunity for some of our students at the college who are interested in becoming business owners. And I'd like to pass that flyer along to our business professors so they can speak to their students. Could you tell me what the cost is associated with registration? And oh, it's free. Wonderful.
It absolutely is free. And the college president remarked that he wanted to pass it along. We also were hoping to pass it along to some of the professors, but please, Annie, everyone that you possibly can send that to, it would be great for students. We actually identified students as a secondary audience. I even think that several of the sessions could be appropriate for upper level high school as well. So please pass that along and encourage as many people to do it. You don't have to be an aspiring entrepreneur to pick up some of these skill sets and apply them to your life. So that's great.
Thank you. And we also have obviously a number of students who are not in Manistee. Are they welcome to register as well since it's an online event? Okay,
That's
thank
correct.
you.
Here's a little secret, Annie. We have in some of these sessions unlimited number of participants. So ideally would like to have a smaller group of around 50, but we can go larger. So yes.
Everybody will want to move to Manistee anyway, so it's cool. Could I ask one question? I'm sure you've already addressed this someplace else, but in the proposal for the Gateway project, one of the spaces that was proposed was for new businesses to operate pop-up. So I think that is, directly in line with, the other programming that we have here for entrepreneurs and Spark. And my suggestion is, shovels are going to go in the ground soon for a lot of projects. There's going to be a lot of interest in opening businesses. And we should take advantage of that by, looking into leasing a place to house that kind of pop-up shop in advance of the Four Corners project being completed. So I just suggest that.
Bruce, that's a fantastic suggestion. I think you're looking at a 40,000 foot view and seeing the patterns of what we need and what's moving forward. And we may not be successful in getting every little piece, but there is a great need to help businesses, especially in this kind of market size, to make sure they're successful. And these skills that we're putting forward at Entrepreneurial Day will certainly help them and help us have a vibrant downtown. Some of the other pieces that are needed there, you mentioned incubator space, pop-up restaurants, but there's also, do we have spaces and the right ordinances in place for food trucks? What does our revolving loan program look like? The DDA could reinvigorate that. There's money in the bank for revolving loans. There's the Spark program as well. So I think we have a lot of the pieces here. As we can continue to move through it, we'll be able to make some incremental change, some positive incremental change. But thanks for the suggestion.
Awesome, great work. Any other questions or comments for Mark?
I'm sorry, I have just one more real quick, and I'll be real quick. Stacy or Mark, I think you guys at one time talked about doing some sort of hospitality training. Could we do, is that something that we could maybe, as we look ahead in the year ahead, like we're talking about Entrepreneurial Day, can we do like a hospitality day? That steps of service where everybody in a business is all, that steps of the talking to a customer, having that hospitable, welcoming presence to our tourists that come here, and it's a consistent across every business, whether it's here at the casino or downtown.
So Jody, last year the chamber received a grant from Consumers Energy, and that was a piece of that grant was to create a customer service experience. So we're currently working with the college right now to establish that program, and we hope that it can be, we're probably going to go out for an RFP, and then that program will be established every year. So yes, that is a great idea, and we'll consider that when we get that program kind of built. Because yeah, we agree, as more people come here, we want to make everybody happy, and that is across all industries, including downtown and, outside the community as well. So yep, that is in the process of working. Jody, if you're interested in helping, I would sign you up gladly.
I am.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
I hear a volunteer to teach and present.
I don't know about teaching, but I mean, I am a chef. I have a tendency to crack the whip every once in a while.
Awesome. Anybody else? Thanks so much. Moving on to director's report. Stacy.
So I will be brief and pretty much turn it back over to Christina and Mark, but we have been doing a lot of stuff on the budget, specifically Christina kind of going through everything. We want to make sure that everything's ready to go. And you'll see an old business. We can go through that a little bit more on some of those items. And then we do have the new accountants on board. So they came on board last week and are starting to get everything transferred over and making sure everything's in the right accounts with that and cleaning up. So we do realize we go through an audit at the end of the fiscal year. So we want to make sure everything is right where it should be. And then the other thing we submitted, and I mentioned at our special meeting, was the Consumers Energy Pitch Competition for the Small Town Rural Development Conference. I'm happy to announce out of 95 applications, we are in the top 10 again this year. So we'll be submitting a video, and what that is tied to is the MSU study. So a lot of those pieces that were in that study, we had a group that got together last year and really played off that. So the number one prize is $25,000, and then it goes 15,000 and 10,000. So we have to submit a quick video with a few questions that if we were to receive that grant, that would be huge for the downtown, because there's projects that we've identified out of that MSU study that we can start moving on. And so then we can show, and that was kind of one of our things was, this community loves studies, but how do we implement them? So that was kind of embedded in that. So I think they like that. And if we can show some action on that, we'll be really excited. So that's kind of my overview of that. And I'll probably just go ahead and turn it over to Christina, because she's doing a lot of work with our merchants and some other things that are coming up. So it's all you.
Good morning. We are working on benches and planters, getting that count out, street vendor permits, outdoor dining permits, and utilizing the sidewalks this summer, seeing what the merchants want to do based on maybe what they've done in the past or something new. So that work's continuing. Also, they had a really great discussion. I know James joined us, and so did and Ken's there, about streetscapes and just general maintenance downtown. So that was really kind of nice at this last merchant meeting that they were getting more involved. And then there's a Michigan Downtown Association workshop that I'm planning on attending at the end of this month. And there's a couple really cool sessions that I think that really apply to what we're doing. Basically, from what we've learned in COVID, the outside is the new in. What does that look like? What are other towns doing? So connecting those pieces, as well as their session is called the downtown age-old question. What do you do with vacant buildings? How can we do something to make them look better, maybe get the owners engaged, that kind of thing while they're vacant. So looking forward to that. But the engagement was good. We had less merchants at the last meeting, but I expect them to come back. And that's what I have right now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christina. Any questions? Okay, moving on to economic development. Mark?
Thank you, Kyle. Let me pick up where Christina just left off. I wanted to report that kind of a red flag that we're hearing with our work on economic development and new businesses. But there's no less than 5 entrepreneurs right now who are looking for spaces downtown to open up either retail or service businesses. And what we're finding, what's being reported back, is that they're having great difficulty finding space or finding places to be able to talk about leases. And there's a lot of different reasons for this. There's a number of different factors that may not fit. So it's kind of just an anecdotal, this is what we're observing piece. But you could have lease expectations that are unreasonable, or people holding on to properties for investment purposes, process questions, those kinds of things. So we've done a little bit of work to try to figure out what we need to do to make spaces available for people who want to take advantage of the investment that's going on downtown. And so we have a list from the city assessor on the parcels and the owners. And so we need to get through some research on that. We also are looking into potentially a survey tool to try to see if we can understand the needs and desires of the building owners so we can make good matches or help. We've also talked to realtors about what is happening as well. So lots of different things going on there, but wanted just to put it out there that that's part of what we're looking at for economic development for downtown.
So I'm gonna jump in just to add to what Mark said about, we did discuss yesterday to put together a quick survey so we can identify these business owners, what they are looking for. So if we do have a business looking to relocate here or expand, or someone coming out of entrepreneurial day, that we can identify properties that we can pair them with. So we're really trying to condense that and figure out what the business owner wants to. So it's kind of a twofold. So we're trying to get that data that we have it readily available. And then also it's a tool that can help us market to other businesses that we want to attract here. So I think if we can have that data and all that information prepared, we can use that as a marketing tool as well.
Great.
Thank you, Stacy. If it's okay, I want to switch to the other big bit of news or reporting. Fracano's on Manistee River is moving forward, and we've talked about this in the past, but there does continue to be need for assistance with the project. And so within the last month, we helped come to a verbal agreement on the land negotiations between the city and Fracano for the land underneath the deck. We need to go back to city council and Thad will, and then we also need to work with DNR to get final approval because of the encumbrance of Waterways Commission grant dollars on that land. So we've done the groundwork on that, and it shouldn't be a problem. But those are some of the things that are upcoming. We also assisted yesterday with a dumpster. So the good news is that you're finding a dumpster service for Ted. So there's been work on financial assistance and city building permits, et cetera. So work continues on that project. And it's a significant amount of time, and it might even be worth all of the $15,000 that the DDA is paying for the service just to work on the Fricano project. But it's work worth doing, right? So expect to see sometime late March, mid-March, a dumpster out front, and he'll start to work on the interior and clearing out. Kitchen will be a significant part of the demolition. The freezers need to be dismantled, and a lot of things need to be dismantled to get it back up to code. So we'll see a lot of that activity on River Street out front of the boathouse, Ted Fricano's grill. But that's where we're at with that project. You'll see some movement, and people will start talking, but there's a lot of work to do inside, and you'll start to see it. That's all.
Awesome. Ton of work being done right now. Thank you, Mark, Stacy, Christina. If there's no other questions or comments, let's move on to old business budget. Who wants to take the lead on this one?
I'll start and pass it off. So we had our special meeting, so I appreciate everybody's time and effort in the budget. But I also we want to make sure everything is absolutely accurate, and going through some things and getting some large invoices that have come in and finding a couple different things. We want to make sure things are in the right line items so that we know exactly what our fund balance is, so that we can allocate dollars for next year to different projects, and then also getting our new accountants on board. So I know Christina's already set up a meeting bright and early on Monday morning with them to go through basically line by line to make sure everything's correct, everyone feels comfortable on it. So getting them up to speed as well, and if they had any questions on anything before getting that final approval. It pains me knowing that we all want to push things and get them approved, but I think as a board and staff, we want to make sure that everything is absolutely where it needs to be. And then also having that conversation with President Ward from West Shore Community College, really looking at what's our action plan for that Riverwalk Plaza. So taking that into account too, and having some further discussion on how we want to do that. And does it look the same as the budget that was presented to you guys in the special meeting? So those are just some things. And I don't know if Mark or Christina, you want to add anything onto that?
I think what we just have to decide, we put together with the fund balances, some suggestions moving forward of a one-time spend down. Does that change for the board with the West Shore College? Are those things, do we want to put those on hold for the commitment we've made to the college? And I think that's one of the discussions that needs to happen today. So when we come back with this budget, that we're giving you suggestions of, hey, we've looked at what we have left this year. Here's what we're going to have next year. Where do we put that? And how many years do we want to stretch that? Because that will also determine what are we going to do moving forward with maintenance, pavers and crosswalks, which we've talked about, slowing traffic. What money do we have to do those things? So hoping the board has a thought on that, so we can come back with a good proposal again to you with this development of the plaza and how we're going to get that money for them.
My opinion, if we can stretch some payments out with the college over a number of years that they're comfortable with as well, I think I'd hate to see us get handicapped by spending down that much and not being able to do other pretty significant projects, improvements and maintenance downtown. But it sounds like you're going to have those discussions with the college soon. That's just, go ahead, Ken.
Sorry, Kyle, didn't mean to step on you there. Just as an education for me, why are we talking now about what the plan is for repaying or paying the college the portion of money we agreed? I mean, we're talking about $750,000, and there wasn't a plan. It sounds like there wasn't a plan up front on we're going to pay back over 15 years. Or I know there was a discussion about the payout for the parking spaces. But, you know, when I heard at the special meeting that, well, the college would like the money up front, that kind of raised a red flag to me about, it sent a message to me that we hadn't really planned on the repayment terms or the payment terms for the money that we set aside to assist the college. So any education you can give me to help me understand why this is coming up now and it's not something that was already pre-decided?
Well, I can take a swing at that. We have an agreement with the college for the facade in the amount of $500,000. And the terms are $25,000 a year payment for 20 years. So that takes care of that. It's my understanding on the Riverwalk, there was a conceptual agreement over a year ago. And then all of a sudden it came up as a high priority now for the college to move forward with it. So it just languished for the last year. We weren't, in terms of the DDA, we weren't aware that it had reached this level of priority. And I think it was precipitated by the donation of the sculpture and the interest in having that sculpture in place at the 100-year birthday of the artist. So it just ramped it up. Based on the discussion we had Monday with the college president, he's flexible on how the repayment is shaped, but we have to have that discussion. So we've got the $500,000 covered. We've got plenty, we've got the money we can pay either, through payments, or if they want it in one lump sum, we'll have to bond for it along with other projects. So I don't think we're totally in the dark on it. So I hope that helps a little bit, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Thad.
Could I say one thing here? My preference is that we have that bonding discussions much sooner than later, because the decision whether to try and do a bunch of the West Shore stuff with our fund balance or not, we have a lot of things going on, and large projects, I feel we should be bonding for, so that's just my preference. I'd like to have that bonding discussion and decide what we're going to do, and then we can fit things in to that larger plan.
Thank you, Bruce. I think it's a little difficult just because we're still in negotiations with the Gateway project and figuring out, but certainly I agree with you as well, for the larger projects. There's a ton of, just going back to the budget, there's a ton of work that's been put into this, and I've had several conversations and meetings with Stacy and Christina. So I'm actually really excited about the end result of this because I think it's going to be very clean. I'm really excited about working with a new accountant, and so I appreciate all the effort that's gone into it, and also thank Tamara and Bruce as well for helping out with that. So I know we're a little bit late on it, but the end result is going to be really good. So. Anything else on budget?
So Kyle, just so we know, what's the next steps with the Riverwalk Plaza? Just kind of how should we move forward on that? Because I think just based on the conversation that I think they would like to get the whole thing done. So if, we can kind of give them maybe a timeline of what the board's looking at, like if obviously we approved the 10,000, so that gets that started, but are we, should we set up a special meeting to talk about bonding, or how, what's the next steps that we should do?
Well, hopefully the approval of the 10,000 today will at least keep that moving forward. I think a lot of the questions lie in the survey and that sort of thing, but and obviously the DDA supports the project now. Mark, do you have, are you still with us, Mark?
No, he had to step away.
No, I just about stepped away. So
Sorry. do you
brought me back in.
Do you have just a quick second?
I do. Go ahead.
Want to maybe get your perspective on how to proceed with this. Do you have an opinion on how we should move forward?
Oh, as a staff person, I think that there are multiple options that the board and the chamber collectively as executive director can pursue. I agree with Bruce that the best option is to move forward with a bond to try to have as much impact immediately. But we do have to answer questions, and there's been some discussions. I've asked questions of Ed Bradford and Thad in meetings and such about how little can we get away with, what, you know, the cost to bond. And so, you know, those questions need to be answered and some guidance given, because the city will be the authority under which we bond. So we have to go along with that and use their experience. But I think that would probably be preferable if we can afford it. And I still think that when you look at the out years, you know, how do you pay for things is going to be very interesting. You can use the fund balance for a couple of years to do bond servicing, perhaps, or you can go the route and tighten your belt and pay for it all up front out of the bond or out of the purchasing or the fund balances, excuse me. So I think there are options there for all of you to weigh in on, but the bonding option would be the cleanest way to move forward and have a heavy impact. What I learned was from Thad and from Ed is that, you know, it doesn't pay to go out there for $250,000.
Right.
You have to go out there for $1 million. And, you know, at that appetite, we need to have a certain amount a year to pay for servicing. And we need to have that discussion. And I don't have those answers right now, but we were starting those discussions.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
What do you think that Thad, what's a reasonable estimate of when we'll know what we need to bond for with the Gateway project? Is it next year sometime? Is it later this year?
I can't give you a really good idea of that. I mean, we're still in the negotiations, and but I can't answer that right now. I'm sorry, Bruce.
Would it be unreasonable to say, you know, that we'll probably have, you know, answers on it by this time next year?
I would certainly hope so. And I would just suggest that the bonds that we would want to issue for associated with the Gateway project would be separate from and distinct from this bond we're talking about now for other projects.
Okay, that's very helpful. So it is possible that we could go to the market twice.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So we package up, you know, we have one out in the future for the Gateway project, and we have another package of West Shore and other projects like that. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, exactly. And I would suggest that we're probably going to need a lengthy discussion on this topic. Maybe we need to look at it as a special meeting and go back to our notes on what Ed said that, you know, we're really capable of bonding for, and then use that number. I'm just going to throw it out, 1.5 million, and then see what we want to package to come up with that 1.5 million and then move forward.
I think that's a great idea.
So I guess I would just ask that the chamber schedule a special meeting in the very near future to talk exclusively about bonding and what projects does the board want to incorporate into that bond proposal?
Thanks, Bruce. Good suggestion. Stacy, Christina, can we, go ahead, Christina.
I wanted to make sure that the board is aware of this. We do have $104,000 in a land acquisition fund that could be transferred. It is sitting there. I don't know if we are thinking about any purchases, but that fund balance is out there.
Okay.
Good to
So
know.
that could be utilized if we wanted to work with West Shore on that amount or something, and then doing a bond later when we knew more about the gateway or something of that, just to balance that.
Thank you. I think it'd be helpful to have this special meeting once the budget is finalized. So let's put that out there soon,
Okay.
and look for dates to be able to do that.
Yep, I'm meeting with the accountants on Monday, so we should have some idea
Okay.
where we're at and what the rest of the year looks like, what bills we have.
Okay.
So we'll do it after that.
Great.
And Kyle, would it be helpful to have one of the accountants come in?
Yes.
Okay.
For the budget proposal, or
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be happy to come in and just go through everything or what we can and cannot do to try to expedite some of the things.
I think that'd be helpful. Just a quick rundown.
Okay.
Stacy, I know you've talked with Ed about this, but what's his hard and fast deadline for an approved budget?
Well, Ed's not gonna be happy with me today, but I'm gonna send him an email after this meeting and see. He wanted it directly after this meeting, so.
So I
But
would-
again, yeah, I'm not gonna be on his favorite list, but I wanna make sure we have it accurate, so.
So what are you going to have to do? Are we going to need to have a special meeting to approve a budget?
Yeah, I'll talk to Ed afterwards and let the board know,
Okay,
so, yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Remind you, what you already know, Stacy, is we got to get this approved budget so it doesn't hold up the rest of the city budget.
Yep, understood, Dad.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to new business. We have, or I guess I've forgotten that we need to appoint a new secretary. When Barry resigned, he was our secretary. So technically we need to appoint a secretary, which is just part of the executive committee. So I guess I could just, I think the way to do this is just to open this up for nominations. If anybody would like to nominate somebody to be secretary. It's kind of a housekeeping deal. And if nobody does, then I'm going to make a nomination. So Kelly already does all the work.
And Kelly's doing all the work for a short period of time.
Okay. Anybody want to make any nominations? Jody? Would you like to be a secretary?
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll do it. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Is there a motion? Somebody make a motion.
Make a motion to have Jody Walter be the new secretary for the DDA.
Thanks, James.
I'll support that only because it'll look good on Jody's resume.
There we go. All right.
No, thank you, Thad.
If there's no more discussion, just a quick roll call, please.
Annie Jacobson,
Yes.
Tamara DePonio,
Yes.
Kyle Mosher,
Yes.
Ed Taylor,
Yes.
Jody Walter,
Yes.
James Boudry,
Yes.
Bruce Allen,
Yes.
Ken Urban.
Absolutely.
Motion passed.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jody. Social districts. James, Stacy?
Yeah, I'll just jump in quick. I'm sure Stacy's got a little bit more information than I have. I had brought up to a few of the board members the other day that We had discussions last year during the initial shutdowns about getting a social district or something like that going. One of the things that the governor approved was the ability to have to-go drinks from our bars and restaurants. A social district would add to that flavor a little bit, where the consumer could leave the restaurant with a to-go drink and enjoy it in an area of an open space or a social district that's been approved. And by looking at all the information that I've seen, it looks like it would be the Riverwalk, as far as like an open space or a public space or a park that we could utilize that's close to downtown would be the Riverwalk. I haven't been able to find anything that would open up downtown, which would be awesome. But currently it looks like it would be the Riverwalk, and we would need some support from the board and obviously city council moving forward. But I have been doing a great deal of research on this, and there are other communities, not just ones that are close to us, but nationally, that the bars and restaurants having this ability, this added layer, has really improved their business and saved a number of them. So this is an option I think we should explore. And if we have approvals, let's move forward and get this thing going. The sooner the better. Summer's coming. So I don't know if Stacy has anything to add to that.
I'll add, there's 19 counties in the state that have approved social districts. Within those 19, some of them have multiple communities within those counties. So I know Thad, Kyle, and I don't know if anyone else was on months ago, we had an initial discussion when this hit that to talk about that. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think there's some work that's going to go behind it. So if we have any champions on this board, or if anyone has any comments that they think how we could move forward on this would be helpful. I know the Riverwalk, Thad, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that not a designated city park?
It's not officially
Okay.
a city park, to my knowledge.
Okay. If it was designated as a city park, are you allowed to have an open beverage on the Riverwalk?
Well, in terms of a social district, it would have to meet the criteria for a social district. And, you know, one of the things that we stumbled with last year was the social district has to be, you know, bookended by 2 qualified license holders. And so, you know, that was where we stumbled with it, because we couldn't come up with a solution other than closing River Street in its entirety.
So if I jump in real quick, when you say 2 license holders, so you're meaning like liquor license holders?
Right.
So
yeah.
if we had the Bluefish on board at one end and Fricano's on board at the other, we could use that space.
Potentially, you know, and I guess we can get bogged down, because one of the things it says that is shared by and contiguous to the premises of at least 2 other qualified licenses. So I think we'd have to drill down a little bit and find out the complete ownership of that Riverwalk. I know the city has easements across it, but there's some, as an example, Fricano's doesn't own to the Riverwalk, so they're not, that property is not contiguous. So I think, you know, I'm for the concept. We tried to make it work last year and we struggled, but I don't mind working with someone to see if we can't come up with a solution.
Thad, who has the final say on is there an application process?
There is an application process, and it would actually, it would have to be supported by the council.
Okay. Is there a cost to submit an application?
Yeah, let me find out.
I actually sat in the Ludington Zoom meeting when Ludington was discussing originally the social district. As I understand it, the license fee is $250 per license holder into to the State Liquor Commission. And then Ludington is actually, the DDA is purchasing cups that are special cups that the drinks are served in, that the license holders then sell the drinks in those cups. Ludington just passed it. They brought it up a couple meetings ago and then just passed it this week. And it's James Street. So the anchoring institutions are along James Street in Ludington. It's not in a city park. It's actually on the street with the intent that the license holders could sell a drink and then you could wait outside or walk up and down the street. The licensing does not allow you to take the drink into another establishment or to refill the cup. But Ludington's been through it, and I think it's probably something that we'd have to get the city attorney on or something to give us input on it. But it doesn't have to be in a park. It can be on the street, as I understand it from the Ludington meeting.
Well, and you're correct, Ken. And I just went to the website. It's a $250 fee plus $70 for an inspection, so $320.
Does the municipality, being the city of Manistee, do they have to submit the application, or can the DDA?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but there's got to be, we don't have to, the city doesn't have to file the application, but we have to file another form that we approve the social district permits.
So would a motion or a support from the DDA asking city council to approve that, would that be a good step forward?
Well, I think it's a little premature at this time. I think we have to figure out where we could accommodate a social district, because we need to take a plan to city council for approval.
Okay.
Can I just ask one more question? Maybe I didn't articulate it correctly when I initially mentioned it. So putting social districts aside, can you currently have a beverage in a city park? Is that allowable?
Kind of.
Okay, so, maybe I shouldn't, maybe this should be an offline question, but I was thinking if the Riverwalk could be designated as a city park that did allow, could that bypass the process of the social district? If the city amended the ordinance to, I mean, I don't know all the parameters. That is definitely a George Saylor question to make sure we're covered on that, but.
I would think that number one, that doesn't comport with the spirit of a social district. And then it would bring on its own set of problems of, you know, Joe Citizen could sit on a park bench with his 12-pack of beer and there it is.
If the beach is a park, how is that any different?
Well, you don't always see things.
Okay.
And I apologize. I have a hard stop. I got to get to another meeting at 10 o'clock. So apologize, but I have to get off.
Thanks, Dad. Well, I'd like to move this forward. Any suggestions on how to keep this going, Stacy?
Does the application, could I just ask first, does the application require at the time of the application, the specification of where the district is?
I believe it does.
Because there's a problem with doing it on the Riverwalk, and it's safety and liability. You know, how we get away now without having railings along the Riverwalk, I think is a question. But risk managers are gonna have a fit with city sanctioned alcohol consumption in an area with no railings.
Well, there's railings everywhere except for wall ties at the city marina.
Also, let's not forget that there's plenty of individuals that stumble around all over Manistee.
Well, I think the difference is from the perspective of risk managers, they look at those areas that don't have railings and say, is the city encouraging people to drink in that area? Right? So
There's got to be a way forward. I mean, so many other communities have done this. I'm in one in Port Huron right now, and very similar waterfront situation with restaurants, and they approved it last summer already. So I just wonder if we're getting caught up in the details, and we should work on, if this is something the DDA supports, work on, submitting an application. And but
that's fine with me. I'm just saying, consider that and specify the areas that have railings, and don't specify the areas that don't have railings.
fair enough. Yeah.
And I'd say, just to Bruce's, any social district that is anchored by those license holders, pick Bluefish and TJ's, for instance. There's nothing inherently safer about someone walking down the street and crossing outside of a crosswalk and ending up feeling pretty run down. Sorry for the bad joke. Than someone tipping off into the river because of no railings where there's tie-ups along the Riverwalk. So the risk is there regardless, but that's why I think we can sit and speculate, but we have to figure a way to move forward if we're interested in this, so we can get Mr. Saylor involved and get some direction.
And Ken, to your point, like you and Bruce, you have to establish a local management and maintenance plan and include hours of operation. So there's a bunch of parameters that have to be established to that. So I'm all for moving forward, just knowing there's 3 of us, and if someone could help, that would be greatly appreciated. James, can I volunteer you to help?
I mean, I'm all in the help,
Yeah.
but I don't know where I can go with it, other than I can make some phone calls to maybe Ludington and see.
Yeah, that would be, I think, probably the most help with
I'll
some
do that
other
today.
similar communities, maybe that we can
Sometimes,
push on.
yeah, I think if we could look at Ludington's, I mean, you've got a situation there, if that's an entire street, you've got, people crossing streets. It's a similar situation that we could have downtown Manistee, and that could, sometimes we kind of drag our feet on stuff. So that'd be helpful, James.
Because I guess if you look at it, I mean, maybe it's Bluefish to TJ's, or, I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe when Fricano's is operating, extend it that direction.
Yep.
That's what I was just going to say is, maybe, I mean, the Riverwalk is a wonderful idea. Don't get me wrong. I love being down there, but maybe the safer route is just River Street between Bluefish and TJ's.
Yeah, I'd like to go large and see what we can do. A lot of communities have done this, and I'll remind everybody that the only spots where there's not railings on the Riverwalk is just at the city marina.
Or if we want, like you said, you want to go big, Kyle, maybe we call San Antonio and see how they do it. I mean, that's obviously, I'm blowing it up a little bit, but that's,
it's not a new thing. I mean, this is being done outside of social districts in all kinds of communities in the country. So,
and I have a question that I'm not quite sure if this is the right question to ask or not. So I know that there's transient boat parking along the Riverwalk there. Is there any sort of issues do you think that will happen because of that with this proposal?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the rules are right now for a city marina, but certainly people are consuming alcohol on a property. So I think we're probably making more of an issue out of it than, I mean, that's, yeah, I don't know.
And I will say, having listened to the Ludington City Council meeting where this was originally brought up, the biggest concern that I heard in public comment during that meeting was, you're destroying the family-friendly nature of downtown Ludington. That was the gist of the comments that I got from people. Kids never see their parents tipping back a beer. But that was the concern of the people in the public who were speaking.
Yeah, I think if we just put it in perspective, this simply allows someone to leave an establishment with a drink so they don't have to slam it before they leave. So,
Doesn't the Elks have a liquor license?
yeah.
Could be another
Mhm.
end.
The other thing that, just to be aware of with West Shore as an educational institution, I'm not quite sure what the property specifications are, but typically, educational institutions are alcohol-free zones. And so, if that property, I'm not quite sure how that would work. I am 100% in favor of a social district. There just might need to be some sort of consideration or discussion
Sure.
along
And I
those lines.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty easy because the college does not own the sidewalk or the riverfront in that.
Okay, great.
So I think
Great.
Okay, well, let's look forward to moving this forward. Thanks, James and Stacy, for working on this. Okay, I'm gonna move on to public comment. I don't see any public. Any additional comments from board members?
I would throw one more thing out from the design committee. We're working on setting up with Christina a walkthrough of the DDA to kind of put a scope on what design committee's doing. So if anyone's interested, we'll make sure to let everyone know when we're going to be doing that.
Excellent. Anybody else? Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
I will
Dave.
support.
Thank you, Ken. I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
See ya.
Yeah.
Bye, thank you.